Okay, we all see my screen all right.
We're seeing your blue screen with your files. Is
Yep,
that what
that's
you
cool.
want us to see?
That is what I want. And how many people do we have?
Looks like right now we have 11.
11. Okay. So welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. And I just want to check and see if hold on 1 second. April, are you on with us?
Let's see. Everyone should be able to take yourself off.
Yeah, you should be able to unmute yourselves. Is April on with us? Because I know she did have a question. I'll keep looking out on the chat to see if she joins. But just wrap this into a little bit of context, or frame it into a little bit of context. How many of you have heard that this is available or going to be available or might be available for on-prem clients? Because that's what the question was about. So just wanted to address that. As far as I know, it is not yet, but it will be. I actually wish it was, because it would have made my job a little bit easier. But because it isn't yet, I'm not going to have information related to how to set that side of this up, or how to work with that side of it. What we're going to be talking a little bit about today is how to actually work with Sky API in BBCRM. And I, really from more of and this is going to be a demo. I had a little bit of an issue with my labs due to the sheer number of people we had signed up during the conference. And so I just want to make note of that. Is there anything anyone has a question about, first of all, something that someone would like to see or talk about, or maybe know a little bit more about before I jump in? And like I said, this is designed to be interactive. So we'll, if you need to, just come off mute and shout it right out when you have a question. Okay, so first thing, does anybody know what Sky API actually does? Sky API, really a little bit of where it came from and kind of how it became what it became. I remember going through, I've been here 8 years, and over the last 8 years, there had been a growing need for people that wanted to code against REST services. Okay, basically, just so everybody understands, the engine of BBCRM still is and will remain the BBAppFX stuff that we worked on last week. And what this Sky API stuff does is it basically wraps calls into the BBAppFX API, just like a browser would. But instead of displaying it as a browser, it sets up endpoints. And so the first thing I'm going to bring in here is just a little bit of a review of the CRM API. So what we have here, by the way, just if anybody doesn't mind putting up some feedback, who has been able to get on and use the developer.blackbaud.com Sky API? Anyone played around with this at all? Oh, Heather, you are here. Okay, so a couple of you, great. Actually, I was looking for April. So for those of you that haven't, what this is it's kind of like if you're old school like me and you like old school ASPX 2.0. Oh, okay. Stand by 1 second, folks.
I'll take care of it, John. You stay here.
You got it? Okay. Yep. Thank you. Okay, so all this does is it goes through certain endpoints that you can use, and we have our endpoint reference. And as long as you're signed up and have a subscription, you have a way of going in and trying it. Okay, so you can see we have our try it button. And let me see, did I actually sign in? I think so. So create a code table entry, right? When I say try it here, I'm not going to actually run this. It's going to ask me to put in some values like the code table name. Okay, the content type, it's going to ask for my subscription key. Does anybody know where to get a subscription key from? Or should I cover that? So basically what you would do if you need a subscription key, right, you would basically request it here. Okay, you would go to developer.sky.blackbaud.com, and you could go ahead and request it. At least that's how I did it. I'm gonna go ahead and put this into the chat. And give me 1 second. There we go. That's what we needed. Okay. So once we go in and request it, we can go in and get into this little sample. So what is in this little sample? This little sample is going to tell us basically from a very high level, what do we need to know to write code around Sky API? Okay, and I'm going to go ahead back and go into the constituent reference only because it's easier. You know, and I also, those of you that were in the API session, when we did the API session, what did we do? We started by searching for a constituent. We retrieved that constituent's GUID, and then we went in and did some more stuff around that constituent. So we got some lists. In the full API class, in the full API class, we actually create a constituent, update a constituent, delete a constituent, do all of that stuff when you do the entire class. But if we go in here and go to endpoint reference, I'm going to go ahead in and say, find a constituent, search for a constituent. Okay. And I'll go ahead and hit try it. And I'm just going to put in 96. I'm sure everybody knows who 96 is. And oh, my bad. I always forget to hit this pull down here to get my authorization code. One thing that's very important when you're writing code around Sky API, make sure you enable pop-ups in your browser. That causes a lot of trouble if you don't, because you need to be able to get that pop-up coming up. All right, so I got my auth key and my subscription key. I'm going to hit send, and notice it returned a value, right? And once I have this value, let's say I wanted to get a list of constituent addresses, or maybe I wanted to update this constituent. Let's see, view a constituent address. So I'll go ahead and do view a constituent address and try it. And oh, this is looking for the particular address ID. Instead, we'll do this. Let's see, list constituent address. And this constituent ID is looking for the GUID. I can set include former true and send. Always forget that. Right now we get the address. There are 3 of them, right? Because we didn't say primary only, but there are 3 addresses. And now let's say I want to locate his primary address. I'm going to go ahead and grab that ID. And I'll say view a constituent address. And in this one, it wants the address ID. Notice that it always has that underscore ID. These parameters are named a little bit differently. This time I'll remember my auth code. Authorize and send. All right, and now we have all the information about the address. So that basically sets the stage with what we're going to do. But what if we wanted to work with this from within something like C#? And I'm just wondering who has seen differently though. Okay, bear with me a minute. Just had this open a second ago, and I think Zoom undid it.
We're still seeing your screen, John, with the address.
Yep, that's okay. All right, here we go. Yeah, I'm moving it from another window.
There we
All
go.
right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show this. I'm going to come bring this up and talk about it a little bit. Has anyone played with this sample app yet? Nobody. Okay, cool. Because I'll also open up some of the code. So what this does effectively is, and this is just a sample, and I kind of wanted to go through how the code works. What it does is it goes through and it basically goes ahead and grabs a constituent, Robert Hernandez, right? So the first couple of things we need to do, here, okay? One is you need to get a subscription. Who's got a subscription to this API product? Don't see any hands. Was that other person able to get in, Heather?
I hope so. I've contacted them and given them the info. So.
Okay, so basically, when you get a subscription, when you get authorized to use that that developer area that I just showed you, you're going to get something called a subscription key. The next thing you're going to have to do is register a Sky application, and I think some of you have seen how to do this. I'm pretty sure there were a couple of sessions about it, not necessarily related to BBCRM, but it is pretty much the same process all across how we do this. Okay, so things like this: create a Sky developer account, and here we have create an application. Heather, I'm having trouble finding my chat window.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Joe, I'm sorry, we're not going to be hands-on today because unfortunately, like I said, I ran out of labs, so I had to scramble a little bit toward the end. All right, so what I have in here is a link for you to go ahead and do things like create an application, get a subscription, and even build your first Sky app. Okay, so all these things are here in this website here. Okay, so once we have that app, okay, we need a couple of things. One thing is we need a subscription key, and two, we need an application credential. And why do we need that subscription key and application credential? Well, the thing I want to go back to, all right, is when I go back to this platform right here, okay, we have those things all need to be set as parameters in the request. Okay, so what we're doing is a get. All right, and we do have this other stuff which is cryptic. All right, but see this API subscription key and the authorization. So where we're getting those from is we're getting those from our actual subscription key from developer.sky.blackbaud.com and from our particular application. Okay, the authorization, right, is actually being retrieved from OAuth. That's why you need to go ahead and put in a pop-up. I'm sorry, allow pop-ups in the browser. All right, because that's how an authorization gets generated. Is everybody tracking so far? Any questions? Okay, cool. So we're going to be sending all of those things in. Okay. And all we're doing is writing a get. There's a URL right here. Okay. And it's really a little easier to see if I go to, say, if I say search for a constituent. Okay, and the reason it's easier is because it's a little bit more plain language. When I go ahead and hit try it, and I put a value in constituent quick find, what we see in this get string right here, okay, it's just basically this URL, okay, along with the name of the parameter and its value. Okay, and then the host and the subscription key all get passed in, and then we build the authorization, and that's all there is to it. There's a pop-up. Now, going back to the authorization, okay? So we're going to get our keys, we're going to get our application credentials, and then we have our sample application. You're going to have a file called app settings.json or app settings.development.json if you're doing this locally. Okay, and you can work locally, by the way. You just have to hit, you're just not able to hit your own database right now. You need an authorization on the sample. Or well, you'd be able to hit your database, right? Just not if you're on-prem. So once we do that, we have to put our client ID and our client secret and our subscription key, right, into that JSON file. Okay, the app settings development JSON. And we also have this auth redirect URL. Has anyone seen or know? Nick, stand by. I'll answer that question momentarily. Okay, so anyway, I just want to show you where these values come from, and then I'll handle next question. All right, so your auth client ID, your auth client secret, and your auth direct URI, those are going to come from your application, which I'm going to switch back to. Okay, so when I go back into my subscriptions, use this window, developer account. When I go back into my applications, okay, I requested and set up this first test app. Okay, these are our secrets, which we can show and hide, and this is our application ID. Okay, pretty simple, right? But there's one other thing that we need, and that is this redirect URI. And the reason we're using localhost, by the way, is because this is local. This would look a lot differently if you were developing against a hosted RDO location. It would be this localhost 5000 would be the URI of your environment. So that's kind of starting to answer your question there. Okay, but these redirect URIs have to be placed into your application when you build it. All right, now Nick asks, are you able to change between environments? So could we develop against the test environment, then later change to production? Ultimately, yes. I'm going to qualify the answer though. As of this moment in time, it's going to be kind of up to RDO to make sure all the endpoints are set up for you. Okay, and it's going to be kind of on you that you would have to do it in a hosted environment because you're not going to be able to do it on-prem. Okay, so with those two criteria in mind, the answer is yes. Does that answer your question, Nick? Yeah, and that would most likely work fine. That would most likely work fine. Okay. All right, so this is where we're going to get those. So the application ID and the secret are going to come from the app. However, the redirect URI has to come from you. Okay, that's going to be the URL of whatever environment you're pointing at. And so going back to you, Nick, you would need to change this. Okay, so you would have to go in and edit that redirect URI. You would also need to, and you know, I mean, here's a really good question about it, Nick, because I haven't thought through this. I kind of think of it as working with, because you could add another one too, so you could have multiples in there. Here's the thing I would be a little concerned at, right? Only because this happened to me in real life with a web.config thing years ago. You need to make sure you are very in control of where that JSON file goes, okay? Because this is going to control where you call back to, right? So it's entirely possible that if you have, let's say you've got 3 redirect URIs in your application, it's entirely possible that if somebody accidentally deploys the settings, the app settings JSON file, what's going to happen? That's right. It's going to take you back to a different environment. In the case where it happened in my world, it took down an entire production system at 5 o'clock on a Monday morning. So we want to be a little careful about that. All right. Any other questions I can answer? All right, so we're going to go back here to the sample. So we have our app settings. All right. Then we would go ahead and run the application. What I want to walk through now is is kind of doing this in C#. Okay, so there's a program.cs file. I'm just going to open up a little column over here. I had a little pop-up problem as well this morning. Okay, so we start here in our program CS, okay, and we just have our build web host. And what we're really doing in the C# piece is really building a web server, okay? And this kind of goes through it's an MVC solution, model viewer controller, okay? And I just want to go back to the actual tutorial. It's a little easier to see, okay? But we have in program, we have our static void main, okay, which basically just makes a call into this build web host. And oops. Okay, and then we call into host.run. And let's make sure I didn't break nothing. All right, and all this is doing is it's going in and it's just building a web host. All right, so it's just really a console app and saying, hey, I am running this application on localhost, okay, 5001 and 5000. All right, so that's pretty much where that comes into play. All right. And let's do this. All right, so here is where we're at so far. Yep, gotta hide this. All right, so all that's really doing is doing just a little bit of an authorization sample, okay, of how we go in and do that. So what other questions can I answer for you? But basically what I really wanted to talk about, first of all, any other questions? All right, checking the.
Nothing in chat, John.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just checking in chat. Oh, I can move my chat over. Even better. All right. So in real life, when we're doing this, how would we work through this? And I'm going to go back to the test environment to just show you this, the API. Okay. So if I go back into the API reference, okay, what we would be doing is we would be going ahead and we would be doing our authorization. Then we'd be writing some code to go ahead and build this get, okay? And from the get, so we'd be making our request. If we go into C# here, we make the request. So we need our new HTTP client. And this is kind of old school, folks. We're going to build our query string. Has anybody done that recently? Done like HTTP requests in code? Up until seeing this stuff, I haven't done it in years. All right, and then we have to go ahead and get our, we have to go add our headers. So this is how this is working. All right, so when I go back into up into here, and so under get a constituent, and I hit try it, and I set, oh, that's create, sorry. I'll do the search. So I do search for constituent, try it, and I put 96 in the quick find field. Well, what we really have to do in the C# world if I back up to this page, I don't know why they put curl first, other than it's probably alphabetical, right? Is now we have to go ahead and we're going to be building our query string just like we would. So we're going to get our request headers, which are going to have our subscription key, our authorization, which contains our access token. We go through and build our query string, and then we're going to be we're going to the client. We're going to be making a call based on this URI. Okay, notice the query string lives in the URI, it's parsed in. Okay, and then we have our response, which is just going to do a get async. So what do we think so far? And the thing is, so you would basically do this the same way, no matter what copy you were, no matter what copy you were using, sorry, what language you were using. So if there's some VB people in here, oh, see, they don't even do VB stuff, but under Java, JavaScript, all this stuff works the same way. All right. So what questions do you all have? Anything else y'all would like to see today?
Nothing's coming in the chat, John.
Okay. All right. Well, unless there were some other questions, of course, you can go and see the Sky API developer community. I'm going to wrap up a little bit early today. Just want to let you all know, in case you're interested in any BBCRM training, we do have SDK training, SDK Lite training the next 4 days for half a day each. You can sign up for it. I think there's Heather, do we have a link for that? Thought I had one.
Yes, I do. Give me just a second.
Actually, I'm all true and just beginning, so I appreciate the curtain pull. No problem.
I'm not sure if you want to show really quickly, because while I'm pulling up this link here, if people want access to the developer cohort environment.
That's a good idea.
If you want to point them to where they do.
Just pulling that up right now. So what we would do is we would go to this link, which I'm going to type in the chat. You can still see this all right, Heather?
Sure can.
Okay. So the first link is for the SDK training for the next couple of days that we still have some room for some people in. Okay, now when we go into this home page here, okay, we need to go in and sign up. Okay, we need to sign up to connect your applications to Blackbaud. I cannot do this right now because I'm already signed up. But if we hit the sign up link, okay, what you do is you need to get your subscription key. Okay, I can't click this because otherwise it'll request a new one for me and that'll kind of mess things up. But then we can go in and manage our Sky API applications. So you see, I'm getting the message that my account already exists. Okay, and all I would have to do here is go in and click add. Okay, I would give it a name, dev conference app. Okay, put in some details, some new details. And who owns this? We could say not owned by a team, publisher. I'll just put Blackbaud. Okay, the logo is optional. And then we can go ahead and put in an application website URL. Okay, and what did I put for my test app? I forgot.
I mean, that's a good place for when most of the app developers I work with just put their organization.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Start, and then after that, you know, if you do build documentation for your app, then you can replace that link with it. I also just put one, while you're walking through this app process, I put one other link into the chat. This is the Learn the API link. So it'll walk you through these steps that John's walking you through right now. But you'll notice, I think it's in step 2 here, the process if you do want to get access to a developer cohort environment. So this is a shared environment for developers. We have them available for CRM, for education management, Financial Edge NXT, payments, Razor's Edge NXT. We hope to be having that for AllTrue soon as well. I know there was a question about AllTrue. So you can, when you click on request access, it's going to prompt you to just email the Sky API team at blackbaud.com and let them know you want access to one of these developer environments. So if you, for example, are on premise, but you would like to be able to experiment with this API in advance of, you know, being able to consume it for yourself at your organization, this could be a good option for you. Sorry, John.
No problem. Appreciate it, Heather. Anything else, anyone? And was there one more thing I need to cover on this? I think not. Okay. So Heather, do you have anything else?
No, I think that's it. I hope that this got people a little bit over a hump and wanting to take advantage of these capabilities. We want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience and allowing us to reschedule. And doors always open. If you have any questions about this content, please feel free to email us always at bbdevdays@blackbaud.com. Thanks and have a great rest of your week. And thank you, John.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. Have a good one.